Hey y'all, Fred here. Got a fun one here today. I don't think I have actually reviewed a fixed blade knife yet on the channel, so I'm excited to share this one with you. This is the Benchmade 𝗗𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥. This is a knockoff slash clone that I bought off of Temu. We're going to take a look at the good, the bad, the ugly, talk about why I might have two different clips on this knife. Before we get started, if you would please, down below here, you'll see that subscribe button and the notification bell. That helps little guys like us get found on the YouTubes. Only takes a second. I sure would appreciate it. If you need to bail out early for any chance, throw your boy a thumbs up on the way, please. That certainly helps us out. I appreciate it. All right, let's start by taking a look at the box, actually. I always like to look at the box first. So this is a fairly authentic looking box, except for the Chinese writing that you see there on that side of the box. That's just my name that I put on there. So inside the box, a little disappointing. It came with nothing. Has a little piece of foam down in the bottom, but certainly, I don't even know what kind of plastic this is. This is like super cheap plastic-y. That's not even like the normal plastic you get in there. No stickers, no bags, no nothing. So very disappointed in that. Usually when you get these knockoffs, you at least get a little baggie. And, well, of course, it's not an axis lock, so you wouldn't have that, but maybe some instructions. I don't know. Anyhow, this is certainly not going to fool anybody. If somebody was to try to sell this on the open market there, I think that would be pretty quickly sussed out as a fake. Counterfeit, don't buy it. But let's talk about the knife itself, because the knife itself actually is a pretty darn nice little knife. I will tell you, and this is the case with a lot of things on Temu, is that it looks a heck of a lot bigger in the photos online than it is in your hand. And I got to tell you what, I am really happy about that. I thought I was getting a much bigger knife. We'll look at some size comps here in just a second. But turns out this is like the perfect EDC size knife. And again, let's dive into the kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, and what we have here. So before I do that, let me mention this. So a lot of people obviously don't like counterfeits that use the logo and knocking off intellectual property and all that fun kind of stuff. I get that. I totally understand where y'all are coming from on that. On Amazon, there are several clone versions. Clone meaning this exact knife, minus the lanyard. We'll talk about that in a second. I just put that on there. Without the logo, with the no butterfly logo on it or the sheath. So if you just decide, hey, I like this knife style and size and looks like it might be the right one for you or a good one for you, you can get this thing in an 𝗗𝗚𝗏13 MOV blade for $35. That's really not such a bad deal at all. A lot of manufacturers, including Spyderco, still produce knives to this day in 𝗗𝗚𝗏13. So you just never know what the heat treat will be like. But anyhow, if it bugs you that it has the butterfly on it and but you'd be interested in one without, I got links down below for both the real thing and that one on Amazon. Those are affiliate links. I might get $1 if you buy one, but certainly would be helping me out. Either way, that's how you can get one of these things without the brand on it. All right, maybe that makes y'all feel better. I don't know why it makes, I get it that you can't steal the branding and the logo of a company on your knife, but take the logo off. Does that really mean that they've cheated Benchmade any less because they've made an exact clone of it? I don't know. Y'all can be the deciders of that. All right, let's talk about some size comps here for a second. So because we're using a Benchmade, I always like to use the full-size Crooked River. That's a fairly common knife. A lot of people will know. And of course, the Benchmade Bug Out. And you can see it is smaller than both of these. So tremendously smaller than that, but even the Bug Out. So if that gives you a good size comparison, again, this is obviously a great knife, a little bit more blade, but we're going to talk about it. I love this knife right here. If you're a Spyderco person, you're not really as familiar with the Benchmade brands, there's your Para 3 and your PM2, obviously much smaller than the PM2 and considerably smaller than the PM3. I'm going to bring one more comp out here because we haven't done a lot in the way of fixed blades. So this is another Benchmade fixed blade. This is their Bushcrafter knife. This is also a great knife. I'm going to have a review on that coming up soon. And you can see it doesn't really matter where you put it. This is way smaller than their typical Benchcrafter, although this is a pretty good size knife here. And also a good knife, by the way, too. I'm going to do a review on that. And if you're into fixed blades and you might be interested in one of those, there's some good stuff to be had there. All right, let's talk about the specs. I'll bring these up on the side of the screen here. So you can see mine comes in actually a little shorter than the original, and there are quite a bit of differences. Normally you'll see green check marks all down the right side of that thing. So this one's a little bit shorter. The blade is a little bit shorter. That's probably where the difference in overall length comes from. The blade thickness on this one's a little bit stockier at a 1.44 inches. That is 0.144, 144 thousandths. That is, that is kind of an issue, but it makes for a nice heavy-duty solid blade, and it does have this tall, flat grind on it. The handle thickness on mine is just a tad thicker as well. I guess it depends on where you measure this thing from. I came in at about 0.62, so that's fairly thick, but again, because of the size, it fits your hand just beautifully. Here's where we differ from the original one quite a bit, is that the original one is a full stone wash, and you can see the blade part on this, the sharpened portion, is a satin grind. So whereas what I think our guys did here, but this is stone wash. You can see the unsharpened portions are stone wash. So I think these guys took stone washed the whole blade, sharpened it, and then didn't go back and stone wash it again. Whereas Benchmade probably just sharpened it first, stone washed the whole thing, then maybe sharpened it up again. I'm not sure how they do that. It is a full flat grind, nearly full all the way to the top, but because that is a nice tall slicey blade, that works just well for me. So the real one, here's a big difference. The handle, Benchmade doesn't make a green version of the handle. They have a brown version that looks very similar to this in Rich Light. Rich Light is kind of like a micarta, but made with paper instead of like linen. I think this is all just G10. Y'all, I can't tell you for absolute certain how to tell the difference, but to me, the fine texture in it looks to me very much like a G10 type of scale. So that would be my guess if I had to guess. This is all G10, but it is basically the same right size and shape, etc. So the real blade on this knife comes in at S90V. You can see, interestingly enough, they didn't put any blade steel markings at all on this blade. So there's another kind of big difference other than the steel itself. I'm going to guess this is probably an 8CR13. It does seem to hold an edge fairly decently. I have had it wet, but I typically dry my knives when I put them away. Certainly, I'm not seeing any sense of rust, which that 8CR13 is a little more rust resistant than a D2, just maybe not quite the same edge retention. The weight on this thing is considerably heavier, and I'm going to say that may be likely because these are G10 scales. The Rich Light is going to be much lighter, so I think that's where the extra ounce of weight. However, still at 4 ounces, I mean, there's all kinds of big knives, big folders that, even average size folders that run 4 ounces plus. It's definitely not heavy at all, and it gives this thing a really good solid feel. As I mentioned, the originals, you can get this in a wood handle version as well, kind of a just a similar, exact same size and shape, but real wood, stabilized wood. And those are a little cheaper at about 180 bucks. But if you want the Rich Light version, it is considerably more expensive at 260 right now. Again, I got all those links below if you want to go check them out. I bought mine on Temu, a while back in May. I think I got this thing for just 24 bucks, $24.19. And that is a bargain for me. Let's talk about this sheath real quick, because you may have noticed, and I think I mentioned it, why in the world do you have two different fastening devices on here? And simply because this is just for demonstrating purposes. I typically keep this, this quick lock on the back. It's nice and easy to get off and on. It's very secure. You can adjust it. You could go scout clip, but I've adjusted this to go sideways, scout carry, but it doesn't do a good job. You have to have it at a little bit of an angle, which is not terrible actually, because I can do it so it's angled slightly down. So when I grab it with my right hand, I'm kind of pulling down and away from my body. But if you want just a nice pocket dropper carry, you can stick one of these Ulti clips on them right there. These things are awesome. They will fasten and hold tight to anything from jeans to running shorts to sweats, you name it. That'll clip right into your pocket, hold it nice and steady for you. It does fit nice and solid. You can hear there's a click right there when you get it in. There's no rattle on either side here other than my lanyard banging around. So really a well done sheath. A big difference between the original and this one is this has it's a little bit etched in there, but it's got gold printed on the logo. The real one has no color at all. It's just an embossed logo, and it's a nice deep emboss, so you can pretty clearly see the logo on the orange. I'll drop a picture on the side as well so you can see what that looks like. Overall, I like this sheath. Overall, I like this knife. But again, just multiple ways to carry it. You could also turn that 𝗗𝗚𝗧 sideways and use that as a scout carry method. It is reversible for those who are lefties. If you want to carry it on your left side, I mean, all the holes go straight through. You just swap your clips to the other side. You'll have the orange side in against your body and the black side out. Maybe that's how people prefer it. I like it like this. This is a great camp knife. I like the colors. I should probably mention the lanyard here for just a second. This was just me playing around. I was just, learning how to tie different knots on lanyards. I can take this off. I generally don't carry it with the lanyard on there, but it's easy to slip off and on. I got a little titanium Lego headed bead. Kind of reminds me of my boys when they were young. They loved to play with Legos. So I thought that was kind of a cool little addition, a little memento to add a little personal touch to the whole knife here. The blade, again, tall drop point blade, very slicey, flat ground. I did measure behind the edge here. I was worried about it. It starts out a pretty thick blade stock. I got to 16 thousandths, 0.016 on behind the edge. That is a pretty slicey little blade. We'll take a look at the, we'll do a little cutting with it here in just a second. It does have pretty aggressive jimping. You maybe notice it, obviously a full tank construction. So there's kind of thick jimping down here. That again holds nicely to your palm, but the jimping up here is really, I'm going to call it aggressive, but not too aggressive, and just really well done. That it's deep enough and sharp enough that your finger locks into that. You are not going to slide around. And they brilliantly added jimping all the way out to the tip of the blade, which is a pretty stout tip. I'm not terribly worried about breaking that. But man, if you're doing slicing cuts, I mean, there's people who use this to process game after, they've gone hunting and have had great experiences with it. This allows you, if you'll know anything about hunting and cleaning animals, there's a technique where you want that fingertip right out there on that blade so you're not cutting anything that you don't want to be cutting. And this thing will slice right through. So really well done in terms of the design, the jimping, up front, out back. You can easily pinch grip it to do a little bit of carving if you want to do some carving work. All around, very good, well done blade. The real one, again, is S90V, which would be, it's a super steel. That edge is going to last forever, a little difficult to sharpen, but hey, that's the kind you want. There's a little bit of sharpening choil here. Not a lot. You can definitely get a few sharpenings out of it. That plunge line, it always curves down. It's hard to show up in videos, but you can see where it comes almost all the way down to that point. But you can definitely get a few sharpenings out of here for those people who are into doing that. All right, let's do a quick little cut test, because I'm going to tell you, this thing came sharp out of the box. But there's a little hang up there, huh? That's just me. I ran out of blade. So not incredibly. I have definitely slicier blades, but don't make the mistake of thinking this short little big belly blade can't make fast work of anything you want to do around the house. Let me grab a piece of cardboard real quick, because, it can easily go through any kind of cardboard without too much effort at all. That's what you have to worry about, is that belly will cause you to slide out a little bit. But, this is, to me, a kind of an everyday carry knife. If there was ever a good fixed blade, just big enough, just small enough, I probably wouldn't carry it to work or too much out and around town or anything. But man, when I'm at home running around, I will throw that on my belt. I usually run it with this clip right now, and just stick that on the side of my belt, carry that all day long. Again, I don't usually have the lanyard. It's nice. I like it a lot. It is definitely sharp and plenty slicey. The ergos are great. The jimping is great. It's a slicey blade. The size, to me, is a perfect EDC, everyday carry kind of fixed blade. If you like that, fantastic camping, hunting, fishing type knife to throw on your belt. I mean, the big differences, I guess, between this, if you're looking at this in terms of how close is it to the original. So again, you've got satin grind versus a full stone wash. This is a G10 versus a rich light handle. It's an ounce heavier because of that. Your sheath colors, not quite as bright of an orange. Don't care about that too much. The real sheath, again, has the embossed logo instead of the kind of painted on logo. This one doesn't have any S90V markings at all. The logo actually sits a little bit too low on the blade. So this is not really going to pass in terms of somebody trying to pass it off as the real thing. There's enough differences that a buyer who kind of knows what they want in this knife and has looked at them online would be able to quickly identify this and say, this is definitely not right. It doesn't even tell me what the blade steel is. It's not a stonewash blade. This definitely doesn't kind of feel real, which is great, because I don't want this to become something that people can be tricked with. So in that regard, I like it a lot, even because of those differences are enough to make it different to a potential buyer, but close enough to the original that I like it. It feels good. Great. I would love the version just as much without the logo. So, you know, don't hesitate to buy the one on Amazon. If you really just love the design, you think, you know, you like the size, and the ergonomics are phenomenal on this little knife. Great around the house EDC kind of carry. All right, so there you go. I think I'm going to end it with that. As always, if you would, down here below, hit that subscribe and notification bell. It really helps little guys like us on the YouTubes. I sure do appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.